we actually can read about this well in accounts of early explorers like T.E. Lawrence and others who made journeys from Jerusalem down to the borders of the Red Sea.
If Lehi's story were real, and he did indeed have to travel between Jerusalem and the Red Sea, there's no way he could have avoided
stopping
at this well. Wait, so Lawrence of Arabia took a swig from Lehi's well.
But we're walking around this place, and we're just picking up like pieces of pottery, shards of Roman glass right there. That's us looking at some of them. And it was crazy because it was just like hundreds of years, thousands of years of antiquities just laying on the ground in front of us.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Midnight Strike Through Mormons. I'm your host, Cardin Ellis. Today I'm joined in the studio by none other than Jordan Barrowman, as well as Hayden Paul, Jackson Paul, and Brad Whitbeck. And many people may not realize this, but one of the first memes of modern times was actually Kilroy was here. Could be oftentimes found in graffiti throughout Western Europe. Many people think that it was possibly an American GI or else maybe just a really funny Englishman. But this specific diagram would show up often in many different locations stating that one Kilroy was here with his kind of sneaky nose coming over the tabletop. Yeah, it's one of the very first memes of modernity, right? So we know that, yeah, it's really interesting. In fact, if you check out the whole entire Discord, I mean, not in the Discord, if you check out the original Wikipedia article, you can see that its origin is disputed, but there are many examples throughout Western Europe in which one of the original memesters, made a meme that Kilroy was here. We don't know who this man is.
Or who Kilroy is,
but we know that he was in many different places and started a meme.
Does it say memester? That he was a memester?
No, it does not. But he is one of the tribe. Okay. Like he's like a comedian / jester / funny man. He's in the tribe.
Kilroy.
So anyway,
Kilroy.
I think that it's fair now, to look at these pictures and say Lehi was here. So I think we should name this podcast Lehi was here. This is his well.
Yeah, I know you want to name it. Okay.
Yeah.
But
so we're gonna name this one Lehi's well. We went to that stupid thing.
Allegedly.
We went to that stupid place called like Abraham's 12 Rocks or something.
What?
And so we could call this Lehi's well. 12
start
a trend.
Here's the thing. Cardin, we totally get.
Tell us what this well is and why we can't call it Lehi's well.
Why we can't call it, but it's probably going to be called that on the title of this video. But to be very clear, we're not saying in the Stick of Joseph series that this is somehow Lehi's well. Okay.
Okay. Well, but we will because we will
talk about it because it is an interesting thing that brings the story to life.
One thing I think we need to establish as well is, because it's not explicitly stated in their departure into the wilderness that they had camels, travel in the desert is dependent upon having camels. Mm-hmm. And there's many reasons for that. One is because they lived off of camel's milk for a majority of their nutrients, right?
Yeah.
So pull up that picture of us with Homeboy holding the giant spider.
The baby camel that looked a lot like a spider.
Crazy legs. Yeah.
So for those of you that are just tuning in right now, I am here in the studio with none other than Hayden Jackson Paul, who hosted the series called The Stick of Joseph, where they are going throughout the Middle East and gathering all kinds of biblical, archaeological, and Book of Mormon evidences. Okay. And one of these big evidences that we came across that was super interesting was this well that is indeed a 3 days journey north and a 3 days journey south of any other form of water that we know the camel caravans went through for 3,000 years. So we can safely assume that if Lehi did exist and actually traveled between Jerusalem and the Red Sea, he had to have stopped here. Mm-hmm. Like, it's mostly probable.
No, that is a true statement. I would agree with that. That's
okay.
Awesome.
Now, because of that, Lehi being the most famous person that did stay there, I think it's okay to start calling it Lehi's well, if not famous. Just for marketing reasons. Hey, I don't see Lawrence of Arabia taking a swig.
But he did take a swig. That's actually how we know that he swagged from it.
Wait, so Lawrence of Arabia took a swig from Lehi's well?
No, he took it from Lawrence of Arabia as well. Because by your logic, he's the most famous dude to drink from it.
The thing that's really cool about this site that we're looking at right here is that it is a site that has been passed down from generation to generation as a place that people stopped who were traveling from Jerusalem down to the Red Sea that would either go on the frankincense trail or even go over to Egypt, right?
Okay.
And so we actually can read about this well in accounts of early explorers like T.E. Lawrence and others who made journeys from Jerusalem down to the borders of the Red Sea, just like Lehi did. So this site predates all of them, though, and literally has existed for as long as
So in Arabic, it's called Bir Makur, and that is really good pronunciation.
Yeah, that was way good.
Yeah, that was
Bir
pretty
Makur.
solid.
And so Bir, it just means well, and then Makur means well known or famous. So it's a well that has been used and known about the use of it for, if you ask Jim Gee, since the beginning of time.
Yeah, so this picture you're showing up right here, since the beginning of time. He's not Bane.
You think archaeology is your ally.
That's funny. So for anybody that is just tuning in, right now in front of your faces, you've got Hayden and Jackson Paul, who are the hosts of a really fun
This isn't
series.
a radio show. People aren't tuning in halfway through it.
I
Gordon.
might actually use this on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Oftentimes
All
I
right.
take,
Sounds good.
I use both 22-minute
Okay.
segments. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I'll have to edit that part out now. Thanks. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so we've got Hayden and Jackson Paul here who are hosting a really fun and interesting book on archaeological evidences. And there's Jordan, their cameraman right there. You can see him right here in real life. And they hit this place I call Lehi's Well, and will be called by the public by the time this this show is done as Lehi's Well. But it is known as what again, Jackson?
Say it.
It is known as Bir Makur, which Bir just means well, and Makur means well known or famous. So insinuating that it's been a well in use
For a long time. People know about it.
forever.
And it's been in
still
use.
being used today.
Yeah, so it's been in use so long that the Bedouins have passed down the knowledge of this well, which is the local. You wouldn't call them necessarily.
They're just the desert people.
Yeah, nomadic people. That's a
Yeah.
good word for it. Okay, and they're still using this well. In fact, it's so interesting. You can see their little pipe taking water out for their camels in that well. Think about that. That's a functioning well that's 3,000 years old that is still producing life-giving water in the middle of the desert.
We hid that black pipe for
The
aesthetic
picture.
purposes.
There we go.
Exactly.
You can see it going in right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I just want to reiterate. You think it's safe to say, Mr. Conservative Hayden Paul, that if Lehi's story were real and he did indeed have to travel between Jerusalem and the Red Sea, there's no way he could have avoided
Stopping here.
stopping at this well.
Yes,
So
that is what we have been told by Jimothy.
Now,
E.
the only reason that he wouldn't have would be to get caught. So it's possible that Lehi didn't, but maybe his sons did.
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Someone in
Potentially.
the
Yeah.
and-
Potentially.
But I don't know if they could have made
Allegedly.
it down. Allegedly.
And
But
similar to Kilroy, there's actually an inscription on the side of the well that says, Lehi was here. We just haven't found it yet.
yeah.
You know what
We
I'm
were
saying? But
looking.
we know it's there.
Hey, pull up that picture of us chilling in the hot tub. So
Okay.
this is something that's super interesting that just shows how long, it doesn't show actually how long it was, but one of the more recent inhabitants of this well, because you have to remember that in the Middle East, gold, silver, none of that stuff matters in the desert. The most valuable thing on earth in the desert is drank. You know, that purple drink.
Oh my gosh.
No, but you need
water. It's
yeah,
water.
It's water.
It's water.
Water is the most valuable thing in the desert. And so what would happen is around these wells, there would be fortifications, and anyone who is traveling through would have to pay royalties to whoever owned the well. And so, but you know, as paying some of those royalties, there would also be amenities involved. So places that you could stay, even bathhouses. So that place that we're chilling in right there is actually an ancient bathhouse. I'm pretty sure that's dated to like 100 AD or 300 AD or something like
Which
that.
was
Just
built
Roman.
over the ones that
That
Lehi and
existed
his
before.
family used
Yes.
when they were hot
Yeah.
tubbing in the Arabian desert.
But the
Yeah.
point is that it was crazy because if you remember when we're walking through there, and I have a picture actually, pull up the picture of them looking at we were looking at some artifacts, but we're walking around this place and we're just picking up like pieces of pottery, shards of Roman glass right there.
Yeah, it
That's
was
us
super
looking
cool.
at some of them. And it was crazy because it was just like hundreds of years, thousands of years of antiquities just laying on the ground in front of us. That was pretty cool.
And also what's very interesting is some of the Bedouins actually educated us on this later that day when we went and stayed with them, is whenever it rains a ton in Jordan and anywhere in that region, is people go out into the streets because it just unearths like coins, brass, silver stuff, and just a ton of different artifacts. And so there's still a ton of stuff that's being found almost every day in that part of the world.
Yeah.
And so
I still won't, the location will remain nameless, but I'm never going to forget that one room in that one building with the leftovers from the archaeological dig in the 90s, where we're just pulling up bags that the scientists just left behind of like half complete Roman pottery. And they're like, oh, if it was broken, we didn't take it back to the museum. But there's literally like a 2,000-year-old vase with like a chunk of it missing. And you're thinking, can I just put this in my suitcase?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? This is amazing.
It was cool. What did you guys think about it? Because like, what did you guys think being in a place that old?
I will say the amenities that he's talking about, it's like a bathhouse, because the second most important thing to water would be bathing.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
Being clean. So the amenities.
I know we roomed with you. I just kidding.
Brad roomed with me.
Yeah,
no, that's true.
He was very clean.
Thank you.
Yes.
me and Hayden were rooming with Corden.
And that was
We'll talk about that later.
rain, dude. The snoring is insane, dude. And every single morning.
Anyways,
Carden,
back to
I
it.
punched you and you didn't wake up.
I'm
but
a
you
big
didn't
guy.
stop snoring.
I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, keep going.
But yeah, they were bathhouses. So not hot tubs, but we joke about that. We joked about that. That'll be, I'm sure,
it's a cool
in
place.
episode 1. But
Yeah. So
it's a
you're
really cool place.
I was thinking it was just such an amazing spot because we went out in these side-by-sides just driving through the desert where there's
that was gangster.
literally nothing for so far. And then you come upon this well and they've just dug down so far that they have a source of water. And it was fascinating because some of the Bedouin people out there, they had a hose down into the well that was charged bringing water
Still
up to
pumping
where
the
they
water.
are.
Yeah.
Right? And so like the well was still in use. It was still the only source of water for a very large area, like Hayden was talking about. So there's a there's a very big chance that that's where Lehi would have stopped on his way, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it was so cool too because like the sense of adventure of just driving, side by sides in the Jordanian desert. And before this, and I don't think we put any pictures of it in here, but before this, we stopped at those Nabatean ruins. So for people who don't know, the Nabateans were the people who built Petra. So if you've seen Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade, that giant building where the what's it called? The cup. The Holy Grail is.
Yeah.
That's what's it called?
Oh yeah, that cup.
The cup, that big cup or whatever, that cool cup. So that's where it was, that cool stone building. That's Petra. So the Nabateans.
Yeah, that's just my timer.
Okay, it's all good. So the Nabateans, they were the ones who built this giant fortress in that area as well. And remember, we were walking around there and finding. He's just like, there's probably so many coins in here if we had a metal detector. But it was just this giant building fortress that had just been destroyed over the years. But there was pottery around, and it was
So how old is this well? When was it discovered? Because it did seem that the locals had known about it for a long time, but Western academia, and of course, nothing is archaeological and real until Western academia has figured it out and accepts it, right? So how long has the West known about this location and recognized it as a 3,000 plus year old well?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, and you can look it up, and maybe we'll put some links in the description here so you can read about the well itself. But it's a dig that was done by an American university, I think, in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And that's where they built, because if you go there, there's like these campsites that are like modern that people have built that people used to stay in. And so that's when they kind of really started digging it up. And thus far, they found ruins dating to 100 AD. So like all those things that we saw, like the bathhouses and stuff, those all date to 100 AD. But those aren't dug. They haven't finished the archaeological site. Like they haven't finished the dig. Until you get to bedrock, you don't really get, like, you're not to the end yet. You know what I mean?
Which is very interesting because if you see behind us there in the the camels, that's bedrock.
So
and
where the well is, they've got to bedrock. But.
Which is way cool to me is because the scenery since the time of Lehi probably hasn't changed all that much if that's bedrock right there.
Since the time of Abraham. Not just Lehi, Abraham. Like this.
Bro, why you gotta blow my mind double like that, bro? That's crazy.
Yeah, so I gotta tell you, this is one of the most intriguing evidences that I saw along the trip. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting was how something just so simple, can tie us to all of humanity in the past. Because I mean, it's just a well.
Yeah.
You know, it literally is just a well.
It's literally life for how many thousands of people?
This is life or death for how many thousands of people in that desert. And look, you can tell that they made a trough here. At least Jim Gee, the archaeological researcher that had introduced us to this, because this is really
actually a slip and slide. I think he called it a trough. He said it was a trough for camels, but I think it was a slip and slide.
Yeah.
Very small children.
Kids.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know. I thought this was incredible. And I think, just as we said before, we recently just did a live stream with these gentlemen in which we talked about many of the archaeological evidences that they're coming back from the Holy Land with in their new series, The Stick of Joseph. And one of my favorites is actually this one right here. Because I mean,
because you named it.
Yeah, because I named it. So yeah, let's put this to bed. What are we going to call this? What's the thumbnail on this video?
Bir
Makur.
A place where Lehi could have stopped.
Question mark?
Question. No.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's
also known as this is Lehi's well. Lehi was here, just like Kilroy. I'm doing it.
But then in parentheses, allegedly.
No.
Allegedly.
Yes,
just like
you got to do that.
Just like Kilroy was here, I'm gonna say Lehi was here. And if you don't believe it, you're a bad person. And a lazy learner.
Oh my gosh.
That's the way to go, man. That's how you make friends.
Yeah.
But on a serious
you've clearly read How to Win Friends and Influence
People. Yes.
But,
Dale Carnegie and me. We're peeps, baby.
On a serious note,
sure.
I'm going to address the keyboard warriors, okay? Because there's going to be people, and I already know it's going to be like, this obviously is an evidence of the Book of Mormon. And we're not saying that it is an evidence for the Book of Mormon. In no way does it prove that the Book of Mormon happened, because the Stick of Joseph series is doing one of two things. It's always going to be doing one of two things. First, it's going to be giving evidences for the Book of Mormon. And second, it is going to be bringing the story alive by showing you how it would have happened, you know.
And the word evidence is used very tightly when we're naming specific proofs, shall we say, that things happened, such as Scythian arrowheads in the walls of Jerusalem, showing that the Scythians actually made it and attacked the walls of Jerusalem, so on and so forth, okay? So, but also many times there's the colloquial term for evidences.
You said it right that time.
Yes, I did. I know it's pretty tough. But in layman's terms, oftentimes an evidence for the Book of Mormon means an evidence of the possibility that the narrative plays out exactly as is suggested in Scripture. Because yes, we don't have a Kilroy was here for Lehi. There's no etching in the stone of the well that says Lehi and his beloved sons Laman, Lemuel, and Nephi specifically.
What about Sam, dude?
Yeah, I left him out for a good reason.
Okay.
So no, I'm just kidding. But it doesn't say, we were here 600 BC. P.S. Here's our Babylonian social security numbers, right? Even though it wouldn't have been Babylon.
Yeah.
But
it was real close.
yeah,
almost.
I was almost there. So we don't have that, but seeing this well, understanding that it predates Lehi and the culture of traveling via camel caravans in a family that most likely was a merchant class that had both a land of its inheritance, as well as a home in Jerusalem that they operated out of, and a familiarity with the trade routes and the nature of navigating those trade routes. That becomes increasingly possible the more you look into these evidences. And one of these evidences that I think is one of the most beautiful evidences and the funnest is the one that you guys found out in the middle of the desert, loaded with all kinds of original artifacts and the whole 9 yards, that is indeed, as we will call it in this thumbnail, Lehi as well. This has been an episode of Midnight Moments. No, we'll see you in the next program.
I think that to support Hayden here,
thanks,
something that I'm here to support you.
I know.
Something that this really helped me with is when I grew up, scriptures in visual form were living scriptures, cartoons. And they are the most terribly done, inaccurate, worse, and that's probably why I'm inactive.
Richard Ridge is like, what the heck?
That's
called.
my stake president.
That's what it's going to be called right here. Living scriptures caused me to be inactive.
Some heavy condemnation.
That was actually the weight of your sin. But
Oh my God.
Cardiff. There was the daily joke. He gets one every day.
True. I get one every day.
He gets one every day.
So
But continue your thought.
But to see these things as they are, like Jesus talks about living water. And when you go into the desert and you see that there are wells that are spaced super far apart, and you have to plan your travel because the number one most important thing is water. I mean, there's a million things, right? The Valley of Hell right outside of Jerusalem where they burned all the trash.
Yeah.
And then Jesus talking about hell, that brings new light, right, into what did these scriptures actually mean? What were they talking about? And what were the similes that they were making, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And that's one thing that, sure, there will be evidences of possible, Book of Mormon ties and all of that stuff in this series, but it just brings 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago to life.
Hey, before we end this one,
really
Jordan,
important.
What were some of the coolest ones? I know we asked what was Hayden and Jackson's favorite anachronism, and I know Brad talked about what his favorite thing was of archaeological evidences. On this trip, we haven't asked you anything yet. What was I totally forgotten about the Valley of Hell. And that was where they burned the trash when he came out of Jerusalem. I totally forgot that one. Which one stuck out for you where you're like, whoa, this happened here?
Man, I think Jerusalem, well, the most significant part of the trip for me was the Garden of Gethsemane. And that's a little bit more of a private experience, but Jerusalem is still so tense because you have 4 religions that are fighting for it every day. We walked under this building, and Jim was like, we're in the Muslim quarter, because Israel, most people don't know this, is split into 4 quarters. And we were in the Muslim quarter, and the Jews had bought a building there. And Jim was like, there's military here around because the Jews bought this building, and it would be bombed out if the military wasn't here. And it's so tense, it's so peaceful and so historic and so old, but tense.
You could definitely feel the tension in the air, because
absolutely.
The other thing Jim described to me was, he said, do you see that big menorah that they put on there, and do you see the big Star of David flag they have
like
on
they're
it?
flexing on
They're kind of flexing that they were able to purchase this in the Muslim quarter. And so it's kind of like a little bit of an encroachment. Now, it was legal, but the optics are a little bit dominant, and you just feel there's definitely like this, none of them want it to get kinetic. Like all of them have lived through the wars that are the religious wars, and they don't want it to go there.
But it probably will, because it did even at the time of Lehi. Well, that's how the Book of Mormon starts off. It starts off with conflict, right? The Babylonians, the Assyrians just barely got kicked out of there. Now the Babylonians are starting to encroach.
Yeah,
the
it's
Egyptians
an unsure
are like, hey,
piece. You could cut it with a knife.
Out. It's like there's like this alliance, because at the beginning of the Book of Mormon, the Jews, they have Jerusalem. They know the Babylonians want it, and so they actually call for the Egyptians to come and help. So the Egyptians kind of start setting up, and that's when the Babylonians are like, all right, fine, we're going to destroy you. And that's when Jerusalem gets destroyed. And so it's crazy how this city, for some reason, like just holds this tension. It's existed forever,
which is wild in a place that's literally named like the City of Peace.
Like anybody that says God doesn't have a sense of humor, like the holy city of the 3 people of the book is all called the City of Peace, and it's probably experienced more warfare over the past 2,000 years than anywhere else
in the whole world.
It's crazy.
It's insane. And just to think, like, to put it in perspective, the whole time I had tension like in the back of my head while I was there. I don't know if you guys did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Especially
really
when it got dark.
Yeah, especially when it got dark. It got weird when it got dark. But the one time I didn't even think about the tension was in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And to have and the Garden of Gethsemane is outside of the walls of Jerusalem, a quarter mile, it's not very far. To have such a peaceful, significant, energetically significant place to some place that is so tense.
Okay.
Interesting.
That was money.
That was good. With that said, unfortunately, we're going to have to jam. We got a hard out here. Lehi was here. This was his well. And if you don't believe it, you are a bad person. Just kidding. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think. If you have any experience, digging into some of the recent research here, I know there's a couple of people that have been part of teams that have been able to participate in some of the excavations, or I know there were some individuals in George Washington University who were able to uncover some of the original relics and the, shall we call it, primary source material of this location. If you guys have any comments, you can give us in the comments section to help us know a little bit more. This is my favorite one, and I really look forward to see how you guys represent this in the Stick of Joseph coming up. Where can people find you? How can they find you before we go?
At the Stick of Joseph on YouTube. Subscribe. Turn on the little notif bell, and then also
the notif bell, the notification bell.
And smash that like button.
Smash.
Yeah, but smash it here first.
Yeah,
So
do it here first.
this is Midnight Strike Through. Oh shoot, This is midnight Strike Through Mormons. We'll see you guys in the next program. Hey guys, this is Cardin Ellis. I'm the creator of Midnight Mormons. Thank you so much for watching this video. We know in an attention economy, you could be spending your time elsewhere, but you chose to spend it here with us. For that, we are grateful. Before you go to the next video, please make sure that you hit the like button. It tells the algorithms that you like our content, and it will hopefully recommend more content in the future. Also, if you can, subscribe to our channel. It's a great way to be alerted of more content we make. And if you press that bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll be alerted on every video we make. We put a lot of hard work into these, and we want you to see all of our videos, so please subscribe. Also, if you would like to contribute, if you're feeling generous, please consider a contribution to the channel through Venmo. We also have contributions that you can give us through PayPal. There will be links in the description of this video to both of those platforms. If you're a giving person that prefers working through Amazon, we also have an Amazon wish list. Much of the equipment that you see in our studio is purchased through Amazon, and we're grateful if you could contribute that way. Also, somewhere around like here, I'd say, and somewhere around like right here is going to be a recommendation for more of our content that you might like. So please click on another video and we'll see you there. Either way, we're glad to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is Midnight Strike Through Mormons. We will see you in the next video.